Minister, in earlier correspondence today, you seem to be downplaying the significance of the allegations reported by the two Garda whistleblowers, and also there seems to be some discrepancies with the timescale. You say that you only got the stuff in September, and news of this in September, and I note that on Matt Cooper's show on Thursday, you said the documentation in question you got sight of in early October. Just to read an email from the Garda in question to the confidential recipient, Oliver Connolly, back on the 21st of June. Garda, I personally delivered your previous email communication for the attention of the Minister. I previously met with the Minister just prior to Easter regarding your matters of concern, and in January I presented your confidential report. I am doing what I can. Now, in July, another email in reply to the Garda, a reply from the Assistant Private Secretary of the Taoiseach after the Garda had written to the Taoiseach to alert him of the matters. The Taoiseach, this is a reply to the Garda. The Taoiseach, Mr. Enda Kenny TD, has asked me to refer to your recent email, the contents of which have been noted. The Taoiseach has asked me to say that he has forwarded your email to his colleague, Mr. Alan Shatter TD, Minister for Justice and Equality, for his attention and consideration. The Taoiseach has asked Minister Shatter to respond to you directly on this matter, and this was the 25th of July 2012. Now, Minister, as far back as February, in a conversation when the Garda went to the confidential recipient, to quote the confidential recipient at the time, this was in February, and he said to the Garda, I believe you, and I think the Commissioner has a case to answer. I think you have the evidence. They destroyed you. A man has only got his reputation. You were just standing up for what is right, if you ask me. Now, Minister, obviously the confidential recipient gave the report to yourself, and you gave it to the Garda Commissioner. So what we had was the Commissioner investigating himself. I honestly believe, Minister, that it's time for a public inquiry, because the notion of the Gardaí investigating themselves is not really on. Thank you.
On Friday, Minister, the Garda Commissioner Callanan released a press statement where he said there could be no question of what has been described as a culture of non-enforcement of penalties being tolerated. Well, that is exactly what is being spoken of, and that is exactly the situation, because that is the only explanation for the termination of 100,000 parking and penalty and motoring offences. It's the only explanation why one senior Garda would be responsible for terminating 1,000 cases. And despite what you said earlier, the very Garda circular which deals with ticket cancellation policy, Circular 4509, is incredibly restrictive and would not account for it. And I have to say I agree with Deputy Wallace. The only conclusion we can draw is that this has been deliberately downplayed. The Commissioner has had this information since January, a Commissioner you appointed, whose contract you've extended beyond the normal life. And I'd like to ask you, Minister, is it a coincidence that after the primetime programme last Tuesday, a confidential Garda memo, which I have here, which was sent to every member of the force, warned Gardaí not to release Garda information to any external party under pain of criminal prosecutions. The same memo issued to the force said that the use of pulse records was going to be audited and monitored in order to protect the reputation of An Garda Síochána. In other words, trying to intimidate whistleblowers who are entitled lawfully to go to members of the Oireachtas, and they're fully covered in law of that. Minister, how can you get to the truth when the Commissioner has known this since January and done nothing about it? He was warned about perversion of the course of justice by senior Gardaí on a massive scale, as you were. There needs to be a full public inquiry into these allegations. The Pulse system needs to be seized, IT specialists going in to get the information off that in the interest of road safety and revenue to the Exchequer.
Yeah. Thank you, Deputy Collins.
That's Count Kohler. Minister, you were saying we are making big assumptions on this, and that these are everyday occurrences, they happen all the time, etc. It cannot be the case the point that Deputy Daly has made in relation to the amount of cases that have been squashed, not even squashed, but that they're taken off the system. What we are saying from the information we have seen is there is a systematic abuse of the system and malpractice. This is not a question of a few celebrities here like Ronan O'Gara or Paul Williams or I mentioned Mary Devons there last week or the judges or multiple Gardaí. This is not a question of individuals. This is not a question
contrary to the rules of this House into the record of this House to the detriment of individuals who cannot defend themselves. It's quite outrageous.
Yeah,
it's quite outrageous.
And I'm moving to the Minister's reply.